All right, so welcome everybody to our dementia workshop, Effective Communication Strategies. I'm Eric Rohr. I'm the owner of Assisting Hands here in Richmond. We're a home care company, and I'm really excited to be doing these workshops in conjunction with Brooke Brockdorf, who's with Brookdale Midlothian. It's a wonderful assisted living community and memory care community in Midlothian, Virginia, just on the south side of Richmond. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brooke to say hi, and then we'll get going on the workshop.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, just to second what Eric said, I really have enjoyed partnering with Assisting Hands on this workshop. It was something we had discussed earlier in the year, and 2020 kind of threw everybody for a loop. So we decided that we were going to go ahead and kick it off in August and not delay it anymore. And obviously, as we all are very familiar with, it's done virtually now, as is a lot of things in our lives. So they have been great partners, and my assisted living and memory care community in Midlothian, this is a huge asset. These recordings too, we pass along to our staff, our trained staff members that are working with our residents on a daily basis. This is our lives every day. It's my life, it's their lives, and anything that we can learn, anything that we can teach, anything that we can share, it's very important to be to not just take care of our residents, but also be a resource for the community. And that's what this partnership is doing for everyone. And we're really enjoying it. So, and Cathy, the brains behind it all, she's the mastermind. She's super talented, and she absolutely very well trained. And she does a great job in explaining all of these courses and all of these workshops. And one quick thing before Cathy takes over, if anybody would like to save a screen or part of the workshop to view later or slide by slide, those of you that are not familiar with how to do that, at the top of your screen where it should say view options. If you click on that and then you click down to the word annotate, it'll give you the option to save screen, and that will actually save directly to your device, whether you're on a tablet, a computer, a laptop, and it'll show you in the folder where it's saved. So please make sure if there's certain information that you find that you would like to save immediately, please do so. And I believe we'll send out the presentation as well. So without further ado, Cathy, I will let you have it.
Well, thank you, Brooke and Eric. I'm delighted to be here, and it's second Thursday again. So today we'll be doing effective communication strategies. And my name is Cathy Hamlin. I work with Eric, and we partner with Brooke, and we are doing a lot with education of dementia and having a good time doing it. So our workshop goals today, we want to review, we're going to give a brief overview of dementia, try to understand the communication changes that occur throughout the course of the disease, learn how to decode the verbal and behavioral messages that are delivered by the person living with dementia and respond in ways that are helpful to that person. We're also going to talk about some strategies to connect and communicate at each stage of dementia using the GEMS model that we talked about in September. And then, of course, I'll be glad to give you some dementia resources. So as an overview of dementia, as a refresher, let's just go over some basic information. Dementia is the umbrella term for a person's decline in memory and other cognitive abilities that is severe enough to interfere with daily life. It is not a normal part of aging. Right now, it's estimated that there are about 50 million individuals and 5 million in the US that are living with all different types of dementia. This number will almost double about every 20 years, reaching an astounding amount of 75 million people around 2030, and then 131 million people around 2050. There are currently over 100 different types of dementia, with more being identified every day. There's 4 things that everybody needs to remember about this horrible disease. At least 2 parts of the brain are dying. It keeps changing and getting worse, so it is progressive. It's not curable or fixable, and it does result in death. It is terminal. Now, there may be some other underlying health conditions that will make death come a little bit faster, but if they're not, then dementia will be the end stage. There are 4 different types, main types of dementia that people are familiar with: Alzheimer's, Lewy bodies, vascular, and frontotemporal dementia. And it's also been shown that autopsy studies of brains in people that are 80 years old and over who had dementia indicates that many of them had a combination of causes, with Alzheimer's, Lewy body, and vascular being the 3 prominent ones. So let's go to our first poll question. And that would be, how many of you are?
And Cathy, I think you advanced the slide. 1 too many. There you go.
Yes, I did. Thank you. So let's go ahead and ask our poll question first. How many of you are having experiences with individuals living with dementia, or are you living with dementia?
Okay. Right.
Okay.
A few more people are responding. All right. It looks like about 50% of the people has a person that they love is living with dementia. And the other people are either professionals that are providing professional care for someone with dementia, or there's a few that they don't have any experience, but they want to learn more. So that's good. All right.
All right, so as we go into understanding dementia, and again, this is an overview, causes and risk factors, advancing age is probably the biggest risk factor we face, but dementia can also get people in their early 40s, 50s, and 60s. If you have a family history of dementia, then that puts you at a greater risk of developing the disease. Genetics is a big factor, and there's some forms of dementia, such as Huntington's disease, that can appear as early as 40 years old. And then the other risk factors that we're most familiar with are alcoholism, drug addiction, and diabetes. But it's also noted that many people who have Down syndrome will develop early onset of Alzheimer's by middle age. And then you've got your common symptoms of dementia. You can have a combination of symptoms. You can have as little as 2 or 3, or all of them at one time. But understand, just because someone displays some of these symptoms does not necessarily mean that dementia is the cause. Understanding that the communication function is complex and diverse is critical in our ability to offer support and interact with people who are beginning to develop brain changes. Noticing that you and the other person may not be taking in the same auditory data or blending data from each side in the same way, processing the language component of the data at the same speed or in the same way. As dementia progresses, the person living with that disease will only be able to process 2 out of every 4 words, or about half of what you're saying at the time. Connecting the auditory information with the same memory files can sometimes be somewhat difficult. Using the same words to describe the same items or actions, even though that is the intention. And then recognizing changes is critical for an effective interaction and sustaining changing relationships. Appreciating these changes that happen when somebody is living with dementia can dramatically alter how we decide to communicate, interact, and engage with one another for better outcomes. It can also provide us with an almost magical opportunity for experiences that will bring joy, satisfaction, comfort, and pain relief when we use what remains available. And it's powerful for someone who is living with dementia and those who would offer support and care. How you look at dementia matters. It's not about the loss. It's not about the fact that it's untreatable. It is not unpredictable. These behaviors don't come out of nowhere. And dementia doesn't just affect the person with the disease, it impacts all of us. So how do we communicate? And what is communication? It's connecting, it's body language, it's understanding, relationships, facial expressions, conversations, our interaction, our compassion, our ability to listen. There's all different types of communications, and we try to use what is familiar to the person that we are talking to make our point across. Failure to be aware of the differences and changes and not making changes in our expectations or behaviors and not learning new communication strategies and skills can damage valued relationships and create huge problems. Emotional distress and frustration can impair the quality of life for just about everyone involved in the life of a person experiencing brain change. If a care partner or a supporter doesn't realize what's going on, or if a supporter doesn't know about the differences in communication, there are multiple missed opportunities and a lot of major misunderstandings. So it's not the dementia, it's what you choose to do about it. Join the person's reality to connect. Become a time traveler to their state of mind. Encourage them to talk about where they are right now. Understand and accept what you can and you cannot change and connect through. Always remember that the person retains a sense of self despite the losses associated with this disease. You want to demonstrate respect and connect through your feelings. Always treat the person as the adult he or she is, not like you would do your children. Don't be condescending or overly authoritative. Try to decode the person's communications. Are they trying to let you know about unmet needs? Are they pain? Are they in pain? Are they hot? They cold? They're hungry? Recognize the effects that your mood and actions will have on a person living with dementia. They can sense when you're not on your A game. Try to understand the source of the reactions and try to remember what we all learned in school. For every action, there is a reaction. So what did you do to cause that reaction? And then help meet the needs while soothing and calming the person. In our last workshop, we discussed the GEMS model, which allows us to see the unique and precious in the progression of dementia. It helps us to acknowledge and let go of what is missing while learning to celebrate and use what remains to make life well worth living until the end of our journey. And I say our journey because this does impact everyone. We talked about sapphires. They're the true blue. They have optimal cognition. A lot of times it's healthy brain and normal aging. Then we go into the diamond state, which is clear and sharp. Routines and rituals rule. It has many facets. It knows what it likes and dislikes, and changes happen rapidly. They can cut and shine. People, and remember, people can go back between sapphire and diamond every single day, multiple times a day. But this does not mean necessarily that they have dementia. When we get to the emerald stage, this is where we're really starting to see the dementia progress. Emeralds are green and on the go with a purpose. They desire independence and they crave connections, but they do travel in time and place. Our ambers are again progressing a little bit more. They're caught in a moment of time. Caution's required. They live in the moment. They copy our actions, not tasks. They do have a tendency to resist what they dislike, and they will seek to find things that make them comfortable. Rubies, we're getting to the end of the stages. They're deep and strong in color, and others stop seeing what is possible. They retain their strengths, but not necessarily their skills. They have a lot of rhythm, and they notice your tone of voice and will react to it. When we get to the pearl stage, that's where we're looking at end of life. A pearl is hidden within a shell. It's beautiful moments to behold. It's ruled by reflexes. You have short moments of connection, mostly immobile and reaction to touch. So we're going to communicate throughout the stages of the disease. Our early stages are our sapphires and diamonds, and you want to convey thoughts and feelings through language. You're able to make decisions about your future care, but you could also misinterpret what other people are saying to you. When we get into the middle stages, we're now using basic words and sentences. We rely on our tone of voice, our facial expressions, and our body language. And we continue to need emotional connection and meaningful activities. As we get into the end stages of the disease, we still may respond to familiar words, phrases, or songs, but we do use our body language and the 5 senses to connect. So when you're communicating with sapphires and diamonds, what some of the changes that you may notice is difficulty in finding the right words. Sometimes it takes longer to speak or respond, and it can take as long as 30 seconds for someone to process what they need to let you know. They can withdraw from conversations because they are missing some words and don't know how to express that. They're struggling with decision-making and/or problem solving. But you also need to recognize that they may have other health issues that affect their behavior, not necessarily dementia. So when you're connecting, you want to ask directly how to help with communication. Keep your sentences clear, straight, and straightforward. Leave plenty of time for conversations, and include the person in the conversations that affect him or her, including planning for the future. Keep these communication tips in mind for all sapphires and diamonds, and even those that are diamonds and sapphires without dementia. Provide subtle supervision for care. Avoid making assumptions. Speak directly to the person, not over or about them. Communicate in a way that is most comfortable for that person. It could be phone, email, and in person. Laugh and enjoy each other. Be honest, laugh together, and stay connected. This will help you from feeling the loss and instead of experiencing the joys of what remains. It also helps to adjust to the progression of the disease. There are some bad helper habits that people need to break when you are communicating with sapphires and diamonds. And sometimes this is going to be a little difficult for us. I want you to be a detective and not judge them for what they do. You need to look, listen, and think about what is going on. Be friendly, but not bossy. Don't tell them what to do, but kindly ask, can we do this together? You want to share responsibilities and not take over, and give up being right. Go with the flow because you're never going to be right. And give another job when you're taking one away. This will help to eliminate the resentment and the frustration and the feeling of incompetence or failure. Then we're going to start with our emeralds and our ambers. Changes that you may notice will include difficulty in finding the right words, They're using familiar words repeatedly. Sometimes they're inventing new words to describe familiar things. It's easy to lose the train of thought. Sometimes they're speaking less frequently. More often, they're communicating through their behavior rather than their words. When you're trying to connect with emeralds and ambers, you want to approach the person living with dementia very gently and join their reality. Keep it slow using basic words and sentences. Sometimes you're going to have to give multiple cues to get your thoughts and processes across. You want to respond empathetically and reassure, always reassure, and rely on your tone of voice, your facial expressions, and your body language to make a difference. And you will also notice that there is a continual need for emotional connection and meaningful activities. When you want to connect, you want to approach gently, and that's approaching from the front, saying who you are and calling that person by name. An example would be, "Hello, Mom, this is Cathy. How are you today?" Don't say, "It's me." They may not know who me is. You want to maintain eye contact and get at their level. If they're sitting or reclining, you need to be stooped or sitting as well. You want to avoid criticizing and correcting and arguing, and pay attention to your tone of voice, but always take your time. You want to respect and have empathy in your mind, and then assess their needs. Let them know that you hear his or her words, you recognize their behavior, or both, and provide a brief answer. You don't need to go into long, drawn-out conversations, but you always want to respond to the emotion behind the statements. Use short sentences, speak slowly and clearly, one person, one question at a time. Try to limit distractions and be patient. And if they're amenable, offer a guess or offer to fill in the words. When you're offering cues, you want to provide both visual cues and gestures. Avoid sudden movements. Write things down for them if that helps, and put answers into your questions like, "I like vanilla ice cream. Would you like chocolate or vanilla?" You want to turn negatives into positives and avoid the quizzing. Continual quizzing just is very frustrating. And again, provide reassurance that you hear and understand. And you want to focus on the feelings, not the facts, and validate and redirect if necessary.
Hey, Kathy, real quick,
sir.
there is a good question that just came up in the chat. It's asking, do we have special suggestions for hearing impaired people living with dementia?
The best thing is to speak slowly and clearly and actually get to their level so that they can, most of them can read your lips. Don't yell or think that because they're hard of hearing, you need to shout in their ear. Just speak very normally, but slow, and keep your words short, and they can hopefully understand. In these days and times where we're having to wear masks, someone with hearing problems will not be able to understand you. So I would suggest using a clear face shield. So again, they can see your facial expressions and hopefully read your lips.
Yeah, that's great. And I think also that's probably where facial expressions and hand gestures are even more important, the nonverbal cues. And I see someone has a really good example. Use a visual or a whiteboard helps. That's a really good suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
And then Missy, oh, thanks. Show and gesture help with hearing loss, go slow. Those are really good suggestions.
Yeah.
And
then
if I
again-
can say too, just real quick, Kathy and Eric, the clear face shields are a game changer. We use those in our community. You can get them at any beauty supply. If you're in the medical field, I'm sure they supply. You guys have other avenues to get them, but yep, there goes Eric. Here, I'll put mine on too. Mine looks like this. It comes with nifty little glasses. So it actually, But it's a game changer for our residents because they very much rely on being able to see our expressions as well as be able to, like Cathy said, read our lips. So it definitely helps for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know if you all can see me right now, but I have also a clear face mask as well. And so we actually hand those out to a lot of people that need this. So all great. I love this. So keep putting stuff in the chat. We want to make this as interactive as possible. All right, great.
Okay. And even with emeralds and ambers, we have bad helper habits that we need to break. A lot of times we're always noticing and pointing out errors. We need to stop. We're telling people to do something instead of asking them. You need to, is what we're saying, instead of, can you please? You're too little or too much talking, showing, or touching can be very distracting. Getting loud and forceful. And again, this goes back to the people who are hard of hearing. You don't need to shout at them. You don't need to use mean tones. Just need to go slow and steady. Over or under stimulation can also cause a lot of frustrations. Trying to take over. You don't want to do that, but you do want to offer your help if they're willing to accept it. Putting hands on and always fussing over someone. A lot of people at this stage of the game do not like to be touched without permission. And overuse of distractions. And again, doing for and not with. So now we're approaching the end stages. We're now working with our rubies and our pearls. Changes that you will notice will include their communication is reduced to just a few words or sounds, but they do have responses to familiar words or phrases. To connect, you want to listen for expressions of pain and respond promptly. Again, we want to see if we can meet any unmet needs. Help that person feel safe and happy, and continue to bring respect to each and every conversation. Keep the talking going, and then you want to use all 5 senses to communicate. When you're connecting with rubies and pearls, we want to use touch. They do like the feeling of different fabrics and rubbing them between their fingers. You can also identify shapes by touch. One things that most people have come to enjoy are hand massages with warm or fragrant lotions, and visits with animals, and sometimes just holding their hand and stroking his or her arm or back can be very relaxing and a great way to communicate and connect. When we're talking about sight, it could be watching videos of animals, nature, or travel, looking at photo albums together and having them talk about the past and the pictures that you're looking at. Color or paint with watercolors. That's always a great way to help your communication. And it's also fun and exciting for the person living with dementia. And you can also go outdoors or sit by an open window together and just observe the nature, the birds, the animals. When we talk about sound, we want to listen to familiar music together or recordings of sounds of nature, of farms, animals. All of these help with connection. Listen to songs or speech in the person's native language, especially if English was not their first language. People with dementia do tend in the later stages to go back to their original language. It's also very pleasant to read books, poetry, or scripture, or newspaper articles to the person living with dementia. And just let them hear the gentle tone of your voice. When it comes to the sense of smell, one of the things that I've used in the past is making small plastic bags filled with herbs and spices that they can smell, or putting cotton balls dipped in essential oils, fragrant flowers or grass clippings, And even teas or coffee beans have very distinct and pleasant smells. Use fragrant lotions for hand massages and body moisturizing. And cook or feed the person foods that smell good. Apple pie, chicken soup, other things, Italian food, spaghetti. And then when we're dealing with the sense of taste, aim at your favorite foods. Take them home-baked goodies that they used to enjoy. Popsicles are fun, flavored drinks are fun, and everyone always enjoys ice cream and pudding. I'm sorry, let's go back, missed one. When we're trying to work on our bad helper habits to break, with Rubies, touching too quickly can be very startling. Leaning in instead of respecting their personal space. So intimate space and space invasion without their permission. Talking too loudly or using baby talk or not even talking at all, just staring at them. You're not showing by demonstrating. It's easier for Rubies to understand if we're using our hands to show or cues to show while we're talking. And then another habit we need to break is we're not trying to understand what is being said. And sometimes we're very confrontational because we don't understand. When you're working with pearls, again, this is the end stage, things that we don't want to do are to hurry and get it done quickly. We don't want to talk over or about the person. You don't want to check for primitive reflexes prior to helping. So you don't want to go over and lean over them to see if they're breathing, check their pulse to see if their heart is still beating. Those are no-nos. You don't want to use both hands to give care. What you want to do is to stabilize the person with one hand and then work with the other. You want to do not clean from the front. That can become very confrontational. Don't use prying motions like trying to, if their hands are tight, trying to pull their fingers apart to open them up. Instead, what you want to do is to use circular rotational movements, and that will relax their joints for care. And you do want to come in from the back when you're cleaning their extremities. It's just a little safer for you and not as scary for them. We need to focus on our relationships, not the task that we're doing. And a lot of times we forget to look for the pearl because they're still there.
Hey, Cathy, real quick, I just, on this, especially with the pearls, as you said, this is the end of life. And so not being in a rush and focusing on their loss is not the right thing to do because these are maybe your last moments with them. And I think that
always trying to find the joy in everything that you do with this person, always.
Yeah, and I think in our last workshop when we did on the gems, it was really touching, and Cathy and I get choked up every time she does this, but sometimes communicating to them that it's okay to go is what they need to know and hear. And, cherish these last moments and not get frustrated that they're not communicating, I think is really important to remember on that.
Yeah. So how you look at dementia really matters. And here's some final suggestions that I have for you. Breathe. Breathing, taking a deep breath a couple of times will really help to relax you. If it's not working, back off. Change something and try again or come back later. We all need to adopt a so what mentality. So what if it doesn't get done today? We still had fun. So what if it's not going to happen tomorrow? We'll deal with it when the time comes. You might want to join support groups, and there are a lot of them out there. The dementia cafes are a great group for both the person living with dementia and their care partners. Alzheimer's has some great things that we can do with support groups, and there are a lot of them out there. Teepa Snow, who is my mentor and who has guided me through my lessons and these workshops, also has free seminars and free websites that you can go to look at, and she can also help you with your support groups. Accept yourself and the person with dementia. We cannot change them. We can change ourselves, but we just need to accept what's going on at the moment. And look for the joy. There is joy in everything that we can do and interact with everyone, including those that have dementia. And with your help, we are changing the culture of dementia care one mind at a time. So here's some of the resources that we're going to make available to you. Again, Teepa Snow, she is just phenomenal. She's world known with her work on dementia and the progressions of helping us understand it. She can be reached at the 877 number. But again, go to her website. There are a lot of free opportunities on there for both the person living with dementia and their support. AARP in Virginia can also offer you support groups and other information with help with dementia. We've got the Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services. George Worthington is in charge there, and he does a phenomenal job in helping you find other ways to help. Alzheimer's Association, again, they've got great workshops. They've got great support groups. Marie Calindo, their executive director, is a fabulous resource. And then again, we've got Assisting Hands Home Care, which is Eric and I. We can help provide dementia care in the home or anywhere your person calls home. And then again, Brookdale Midlothian. They are a great community. They've got a tremendous facility for assisted living. But then when you go into their memory support unit, you still have the same kindness, the same respect, and the same appreciation for the person living with dementia. And so now it's time for another poll question. Eric, you want to add? So if anybody is interested in learning any more about the following: dementia care or support in the home, dementia care or support in a memory care community. We'll give you a few minutes to let us know about that.
Great. All right. Perfect. It looks like there's some people, and we'll follow up with those individuals that are looking for some additional help.
Okay, so we are finished with effective communication strategies. Our next second Thursday will be Dementia Conversations, and we will do that Thursday, November the 12th. As we get closer to that date, we will let you know the time.
I think
looking forward to
probably 10 a.m. again. So we'll
Okay.
see if that continues to work, but we haven't gotten any negative feedback on that. So.
Yeah. Okay. So with our dementia conversations, we're going to learn to have honest and caring conversations about common concerns. It could be health, it could be financial, it could be about driving, and some other concerns when people begin to show signs of dementia.
Yeah, and I think that the way this is all kind of working, you'll see how it's building. Each of these things are building is why we had to have the gyms last time, so we could understand communication within each of those gym stages. And then the dementia conversations are more specific for having conversations. I think it's driving, going to the doctors, and legal and financial. So it's using some of these communication strategies in more specific type of conversations.
And so if anybody has any questions, if you want to put them in the chat box, we will try to answer them for you. And again, recordings of this workshop will be available, and we will email a link to everyone who participated today.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. So feel free to take yourself off mute if you want to ask the question verbally, but I'm monitoring. So looks like Marion, hopefully we answered your question about the topic on the next workshop on dementia, conversations about driving, going to the doctors, and legal and financial. Missy's asking, yes, we'll be sharing the PowerPoint. I'll be sending out an email to everybody who registered with a copy of this recording of this workshop. And then if you would like a copy of the slides, I can send those to you as well. Looks like Nikki, hey, good to hear from you, Nikki. Nikki's asking can you tell more about the dementia care that you referred to? And Cathy, why don't you handle the piece that's on the home side, and then Brooke can talk a little bit more about the memory care community that they have at Brookdale. So go ahead, Cathy.
Okay, here at Assisting Hands, again, we provide care and support to anybody, anywhere they call home. With our dementia caregiving, what we try to do is I'll go out and meet with the person and their family members, and we work together to try to figure out where they are in the stage of the disease. And then when I am looking at my available caregivers, I try to look at the experience they can bring to the table. And then we also bring our caregivers in and give them very extensive training on dementia, on what to look for, how to react, how not to react, things that they can do to engage and connect, and things that will make everybody's life easier. I think that's really important. And so far, we've been incredibly successful at being able to do that. Brooke, you want to talk about Midlothian?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually, with our memory care community, we have a lot of different things that we do and that we implement with our staff and help with the residents. So we actually have an in-touch system that we use. It's a memory care technology-based program. We also have a 7-day-a-week programming schedule, which is nice. So it's morning, afternoon, and evening that encompasses all week during the week as well as the weekends. We have the same recognized care trained staff too in our care aides and our nurses that have specialized dementia training. We also have what's called a solace program, I'm sorry. We like to offer individualized care. So if we have some of our residents that are struggling and they're in various levels of, for instance, the gyms, sometimes there's certain things that a resident needs more one-on-one attention with, or they need more individualized care. There's a little bit of redirecting that may need to be done with some residents over others. So we definitely take into account by doing Optimum Life, our life story with the resident and the family members, we find ways to socialize and engage and interact with the residents on whatever level they're on. And what's great about that is, like I said, we get the family involved. We learn about the history of our residents, their life story, and then we utilize that in their current situation here in their new home. And we set up individualized areas. For instance, we have a resident now who is not sleeping that well, and she's waking up and she thinks she needs to go shopping. So instead of yes, we want her to get the rest that she needs, but to help calm her down, we've actually set up a small shopping center within our memory care community. So in the evenings, we have our aides that are actually helping her try on different sweaters and look at different purses, and it actually helps calm her down. She gets a little bit tired, and then we're able to actually redirect her back to bed. So there's different ways that we can really help our residents, and it's really getting to know them. So that's the long answer. I could go on and on to tell you the truth, Cathy, but I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Brooke. Are there any other questions? Anything we can help you with?
Yeah, so Gilbert just put one in. Brooke, this may be one for you.
Mm-hmm.
He's asked, or maybe to the group, Does anyone know of a memory care community that has a larger Latin or Spanish speaking community?
You know, our memory care communities vary. You know, it's all ethnicities. I don't know of anyone that is specifically a larger Latin or Spanish speaking. So if somebody else does, please feel free to unmute yourself and share or type in the chat box. I do know that we here at Brookdale, we have bilingual staff, both in our assisted living and our memory care community, which is really important. But as far as majority being Latin or Spanish speaking, I'm not 100% sure there.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
residents. Okay, so we
Yeah.
do have bilingual, excuse me, we do have bilingual staff and we do have bilingual residents. They're not majority Latin or Spanish speaking, but we do have some bilingual residents in our memory care as well as our assisted living.
And Gilbert, I took down your note. I'll try to do a little research separately. And if I do find a community, and are you in the Richmond area, Gilbert? Just so I'm not, not trying to find a solution for an area that you may not be interested in. But I will try to. Oh, so Gilbert, you're in Florida. Hey, Gilbert, how about you and I touch base? I do know some assisting hands people down in Florida, and they may be able to put you in the right place. So
and we have some Brookdale contacts in Florida too, so I can pass those along to you, Eric, if you want to share that along with your information with Gilbert.
Okay, well, great, Gilbert. We'll take that offline, and let me put my email in the chat just so everybody has it. So they can reach out to me if you don't already have this information. Okay, well, great. I'm going to stop the recording now, and people feel free to drop off, but Brooke, Cathy, and I will hang out for a few more moments to answer any questions. So here, I'm going to stop the recording. So again, thank you everybody for joining us.